Welcome back to TribPreps. I'm Eric Lee alongside Todd Sommerfeld and James Crosse. We're here coming at you after week 6 in Wisconsin, week 4 in Minnesota, and that means playoff. Playoff berths can be clinched in Wisconsin tonight. So we'll run through the scores. You guys know the drill.
Yep.
And then we'll hit our games. I was at Aquinas Westby. Aquinas clinching their 4th straight playoff berth, 51-14 over Westby, on over Reedsburg 35-0, Cashton over Bangor 21-7. Over back in the Cooley, West Salem over GT 40-6. Altoona beats Viroqua 56-25. Arcadia over Black River Falls 20-18. Onalaska Luther puts it to Brookwood 42-8 in the Dairyland. Blair Taylor over Augusta 38-36. Mel Min over Alita Strum 21-20. PDC beats River Valley 53-14. DeSoto continuing its winning ways in 8-man 56-14. And La Crescent falls to Lords, Rochester Lords 41-36.
We also had Central,
yes.
Central,
The MVC. I forgot to count off the MVC roundup.
Central beat Toma tonight 34-7. Baraboo 35-31 over Logan. And Toma beat, Holman beat Sparta. Was it 24? I can't remember the score of that game.
That's what I get for
But it's another win for Holman tonight. 2 in a row for the Vikings.
A little rusty.
With 400 rushing yards, so let's get that out there.
Yes.
Almost 400.
I feel like we should start with Anna Reedsburg.
Okay.
I think that's the place to. Bangor Cash.
Yeah. We'll start with that. 2 undefeated teams going in, just like James's game.
Yep.
1 coming out, and it's on Alaska. In dominant fashion. Reedsburg came in as a team that was averaging 26 points a game. Had a running back with almost 800 rushing yards. He ended up with 55 on 23 carries, and most of that, I know he had 16 in the first half on 9 carries. So he had a lot of it. It ended up being a running clock game, so he had 20 some of those yards probably after the running clock started, and most of them after Anna was already up 27-0. So they really did a good job on him in this game. Reedsburg ran 50 plays and had 101 yards in this game. So kind of got a little dose of reality in playing on Alaska here tonight. Hilltoppers did everything well. I mean, they tackled really well. They flowed the ball very well. And we've talked all year about their defense, and it's justified. They played a really good game tonight defensively, and still played well offensively. I thought had 5 players score 1 touchdown each, so nobody dominated. Nicky Odom had 11 catches, 93 yards, skipped in through 3 touchdown passes. One like a little shot put down in the goal line to get things going. So that was kind of interesting. But Odom really kind of showed that he's so hard to stop on the field. It doesn't really matter what opponents do to him. He's going to find a way.
He's just so quick.
Yeah, and he caught a touchdown pass in the 4th quarter. I think he's only got a couple touchdowns this year, but 40-some catches he's up to now. Like I said, 11 tonight. Another good night for Brady Kuhn. Had 119 yards. It's 2 weeks in a row over 100. So they're starting to increase his carries a little bit, which is good. Offensive line's getting better. Yashinsky and the staff are going to have some things to talk about this week, but they're going to have to get pretty picky, I think. They had some penalties late in the 2nd quarter. Reedsburg had a long drive, we'll say, and eventually got in the end zone, but a holding call brought it back. But during this drive, there were 3 on-Alaska penalties. 1 15-yarder, a 10-yarder, and then half the distance. I think it ended up being 12 yards. So Reedsburg probably had, 15 or 20 yards of offense.
Yeah.
if that on this drive. So I'm sure they'll go into that and talk to the team about that. But overall, just really good performance, solid performance for Onalaska. I think people thought Anna was the favorite in this game. I don't know, anybody thought it'd be 35-0. But man, the defense just played out of its mind, and
that's been the case all year.
Yeah, it is. 4th shutout. Played like they were mad that they gave up points last week. That's what Aiden Summerfield said. They weren't happy with giving up 18 last week. Apparently a little offended by that. So go out and get another shutout, I guess. So good performance for the Hilltoppers. Now it kind of comes down to them and Baraboo.
Which they had a crazy game last year. I will bring it up until the end of time. Oh man, I don't think they'll top that game, but that should be an interesting one.
But that's what it'll come down to at this point. So on to Cashton.
Yeah, Cashton.
Let's get to that because that was a big one. And
well, me and Eric kind of talked about it earlier in the week. I thought this might be a game where one team just gets really exposed and we see a total blowout and we see, okay, this is the definite best team in the conference. And he predicted, I think you picked, whatever team you picked, it was 21 something. We somehow both ended up being right because in this game, 21-7 feels like a pretty sizable margin when you consider Bangor wasn't really able to do a lot offensively. You know, Tanner Jones, it feels weird to say a disappointing night when a guy has 68 rushing yards.
Yeah.
But when you consider what he's been able to do, granted, like Todd mentioned sort of in his story in Friday's paper, against lesser competition or against weaker competition than maybe
both teams were in that boat.
Yeah, both teams were in that boat, but most 5-0 teams, typically you don't see quite that week of schedules leading up to it.
Right.
This game was really defined by the start of the second quarter. It was Jacob Hutziker, the senior quarterback, threw a 58-yard touchdown pass to Connor Butzler to open the quarter. That was his second touchdown throw. That was something that kind of going in, I don't think a lot of people expected Cashton to throw that much, let alone get their 2 offensive touchdowns that way. And then on the first play of the Bangor drive after, Tanner Jones fumbles. It's recovered by Brett Hemmersbach, and he returns at 35 yards, and suddenly it was a 7-0 game, and now it's a 21-0 game with a Bangor team that was struggling really, really badly in the first quarter to get offense going. They steadily improved, I think, as the game went along. They got a touchdown from Jones on the next drive. That was their only score of the game. And overall, I think Bangor looked stronger than they did in the first half and the second half, but I mean, they just couldn't get anything done offensively. Cashton was really solid. They knew everything. They had really good eyes, you know, when it came to following, because in that scheme, it's easy to, you know, sort of lose who has the ball and give up big gains that way. And I saw it when Bangor faced Melman earlier this year. A lot of those big plays were just guys getting lost, and suddenly Tanner Jones has, you know, all the space in the world. They never gave that up, and that is, I think, a big part of what they were able to do. Cashton, the defense was really good. The offense, 21 points, obviously enough to win this game, but it felt like they left a little bit on the table. There were some penalties, there were some drives that kind of stalled out when they got to the red zone. 0-0 in the second half. That was the one thing Bangor kind of took away and said, well, if we got anything to take away from this, we held them scoreless after that blunder of the start to the second.
And so Bangor's not able to get stuff done on the ground. I know they've been throwing the ball more recently this year, like more this year than in years past. I mean, were they able to do anything through the air?
No. Did they try?
No, they tried. They had 2 interceptions thrown by Nolan Mitchell. And then
Jones' first 2 of the year.
Jones actually went back, and late in the game, they tried to catch Cashton sort of sleeping, I guess, and they had Jones throw a few passes, and it worked to some extent, but eventually they caught on, and it just meant more of him getting tackled in the backfield, which was a lot of what this game ended up being, was him getting either to the line or maybe a yard or maybe, you know, nothing major in any sort of way.
So now the Bluffs appears to be coming down to Cashton and Luther.
And that's the first time in a long time the Cashtons got back-to-back wins over Bangor. I mean, after
First
beating them
time-
last year.
playoff game last
Yeah,
year.
playoff game last year.
First time since '99 2000.
In conference.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, overall, I guess.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Big win for the Eagles.
Yes.
Big win for the
Yes.
Eagles. Looking to make another deep run. Another
It's
team.
about the Blue Gold.
Yeah, another team looking to make another deep run. This one wasn't particularly close. Westby just kind of got behind early, and you can't do that against Aquinas. And Andy Holtz said as much. Aquinas kicks the ball off. First play from scrimmage, Westby fumble. 3 plays later, Aiden Lee scores on a reverse, and just like that, it's 6-0. 80 seconds into the game.
Good thing he's a good football player now.
Yeah, he is a good football player now, though he does still prefer sacks to touchdowns.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth. And he had a couple of those tonight too, because the defense was playing well, and they even scored on special teams too. Blocked punt. Ben Corsi blocked a punt, and Isaac Schumacher returned it. And that was probably the highlight of the game. Everybody just seemed so happy for Isaac Schumacher. You know what I mean? He returned it like 25 yards. It wasn't anything super crazy, but it was. I guess he had talked to Tom Lee at some point in the game. It was like, hey, I think I can like bull rush this guy and just push him back into the punter if we want. And Tom was like, sure, yeah, whatever, why not? And he did it. He didn't get the block, but of course he was able to. And then the ball just ended up like in his hands, like
He ran faster than he's ever run before.
Yes, he did.
And then obviously,
yes,
be missing Brett Stensland doesn't help.
That doesn't help either. And
due to injury, we would say.
Yeah, due to injury. And Damian Lee said that was kind of their like focus coming, like their defensive game plan coming in was actually more focused on him than on Vatlin. And then he doesn't play. It just kind of gives a different dimension. I mean, Jackson Flotmeyer was even like, it honestly sucks because he's a great player and I want to like be on the same field as somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
Westby couldn't dig out of the hole. By the end of the first quarter, it was 20-0, and that's too much. They turned the ball over 4 times in addition to the blocked punt. Aquinas had a safety in the second half. The defense looked really solid. That group looks really good. The offense struggled from time to time, sustaining drives and even finishing them off, which has kind of been a theme this year. Flotmeyer was kind of, you could tell that he was not like, upset about it, but it was like kind of nagging at him, right? That some of these drives they're going 3 and out, or they're just not able to, they get into the red zone, they're not able to finish it off. So they've got stuff to improve on still, which is really crazy to say about this team. And I think Flotmeyer's getting more and more comfortable with all these receivers, because last year he was so comfortable with Muskowski. You could just throw it up to him and whatever, he's going to go get it.
Right.
And not to say that any
And
of
it
these
looked
guys...
like it looked like that was going to be Consemius this year. Too.
Right, but now they're spreading
spreading
the ball around a lot. I think at least 4 or 5 different guys had catches tonight.
Okay.
And I mean, Consemius had 7, but most of those were those kind of jet pop passes.
Like Alaska does without him.
Right, yeah. So all in all, a good win for Aquinas. Like I said, this is 4 straight playoff appearances for them. This is a program that forfeited a game in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 years ago.
Yep.
And now they've made the playoffs 4 years in a row. That's pretty remarkable, and I think everybody there kind of understood that too. Tom Lee was like, but it's kind of changed from when they beat Darlington in 2019, because he was like, I was kind of emotional in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, this is
the standard.
This is the standard. This is what Aquinas football is now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool to see.
Yeah,
we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but that Week 9 game between
2 games left,
Aquinas and West Salem could be a good one.
Yes, I think it will be regardless what happens between now and then.
Very true.
In terms of other things, I mean,
West Salem's playoff
yeah, the West
bound.
Salem, that's and that was a close game early.
Yeah,
they ended up scoring, I think, 27 in the second half.
Correct.
For that win, so a good finish there for West Salem in a long-time rivalry game.
Yeah.
With GT. I think what else?
Luther.
Yeah, Luther again. They just keep winning.
Yeah.
And I think they may have really kind of turned that loss to Aquinas into a positive in that they stayed with them
Yeah.
for 3 quarters. And sometimes that's a hard thing to get kids to buy into because in the
Oh,
end
yeah.
they lost.
Yeah.
But I think they may have found some value in that. And that's what coaches hope is that they'll take something out of that. And they
Yep.
may have. And that's the only game they've lost this year. And they're winning winning a lot of one-sided
And now all of a
games.
sudden it's Devin Cashton for the Scenic Bluffs.
Yeah.
Blair Taylor, playoff
Yeah.
bound.
4-0 for Blair Taylor, right?
That was a game that went back and forth a lot. I counted 7 lead
7.
changes. And it ultimately came down to a touchdown, 4 minutes to go, and Blair Taylor won that one. Melrose Maduro gets their
It's
first win
of the year.
of
Yeah.
the season.
That's good too. La Crescent just comes up short.
Man, I just
29-point fourth quarter and
Yeah,
they lost by 5.
yeah, it's crazy. They're down 35-0. In the second quarter, they scored 29. In the fourth, they take the lead 36-35.
Then he gave up a late one.
Give up a late one. It's just got to be crushing. I feel so bad for those kids, man. But
They're also coming off the high of winning 2 games in a row.
Yeah. And that's a program too that we could be talking about the same kind of deal as Aquinas. I mean, even the fact that the fact that La Crescent had a 2-game winning streak going into this and had the opportunity to win this game is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
I don't
nothing
think.
at all. That's great. Holman, second win in a row.
They shut down Carson Kelsey.
Yes. I think it was 4 rushes, 17 yards, and 1 reception for 13. That's a guy who had 11 touchdowns in his first 4 games.
Yeah.
So impressive defensive performance there. The Vikings, Central gets a win. They had lost 4 in a row. So good for them. They still didn't have Mason Elston back for this one, but they scored 37 points. So
And it sounded like Logan lost a heartbreaker.
yeah, they were up. They kicked a field goal to go up by 10, 31-21 with 6 minutes left. And then Baraboo scored twice at the end. So a tough loss. That's a tough one for Logan.
That sounds like the Baraboo on Alaska game.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
But a tough one for Logan, which is a team that hung on Alaska, for a good chunk
now
of
you're
that game
beating
last
Baraboo.
week, and now you're beating Baraboo and you lose it at the end.
Man.
So I think a tough one for them. Now they got to start to piece together some wins if you want to look at a playoff spot. Holman at least kept the chances alive with that. They still have to win 2 of the last 3. We'll see if that can happen. Tough loss for Sparta in that one. Doesn't lead to good things the rest of the year, but we'll see how it goes for their last few games too. So
Yeah, that should about do it for us.
yeah.
Here on this Friday night, Saturday morning. As always, you can find all of this stuff online, lacrossetribune.com. Videos like these, highlight videos, photos, game stories. You can also find all this stuff on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, just search Lacrosse Tribune. I found there are 2 Lacrosse Tribune YouTube channels out there.
Shocker.
Go to the one that has more subscribers.
Yeah.
Go to the one
and presumably more
videos. Go to that one. You can find stuff like this there. You can subscribe and get notifications then for when we post. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again next week.